In here.
I think got it. So he's focused now. Just ask for confirmation. They can hear him.
I can
let the
hear. Yeah, we
artist
can
speak,
hear.
So
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you all hear him?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear. Yes, we can hear.
give a thumbs up.
Give a thumbs up, please.
You can hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah.
All right, okay, so let's get started. I have 3 minutes. So I know some of you have seen her work. Last time I came, she was slim. But this time I look at everybody's art, it's crazy good. So I feel awkward listening to you. Like everybody explaining their art in so philosophical terms, and even my bio, ChatGPT wrote it. So right. But anyway, so most of she wrote read out is true. So I am based in San Jose. So I don't have a big thought process behind my art. I have a reference picture. I learned this medium, so I use it. So some of you might have seen my demos here before. So it's basically a medium called Scratchboard. So
You can show it here.
I want to see how it looks like, right?
Yeah.
So this is a masonite board, and there is a clay coating. It's a white clay coating.
Yeah, look here. Yeah, got it.
Right, so I'm trying to say there is a white in here.
He's trying to show the edge.
I see.
No.
Should I bring it
Yeah,
closer?
it is.
It's very small white in there, and then there is on top of it, it's black. So the technique is reverse of like pencil drawing, where you have a white paper and you draw it with a dark medium, right? Instead of that, you have black showing up, and you use a sharp tool, which is kind of a knife or some other tool, and you scratch, and the white clay shows up.
Mhm.
And once that shows up, you have an option to color it. So you can choose not to color it, and if you don't color it, it will do something like this. So without coloring, it's just black and white.
It's very powerful.
Wow.
Oh, gosh.
And the way you scratch it is just like this is a knife. You I don't know if it will be captured in the camera, but like this is it. You have to have a fluid movement, and everything that you do will be reflecting the black. I mean white. What you scratch off, right? You can see the powder that just came out, which is the black ink.
I'm going to zoom in on this book. It's okay. Your face is not visible now.
It's not much.
All right. So hang on for back folks for a second. So I'll zoom in. So let's get this one. Check if you're able to see right now on the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now on the scratching will. Oops, sorry. Yeah, more down.
Yeah.
Is that okay.
All right. Okay. So I mean, this has a little bit of color in there. I don't know if you can notice, but there is a small greenish tint in there. I don't know why it's decided to do that, but if you want to add anything or change something, right, you can scratch, and then you can add color on top of it. Or you can just, I mean, in this case, I don't want to color it. So let's go back to a colored one, because people usually like the colored one. So I'll just stick with the color. Oh, there is another way of doing this, which is instead of starting with black, it's all just the white clay, right? It starts with the masonite board and the white clay, and you have to use inks on top of it, and then you scratch, right? So that is called a clay board. Probably have some in here.
Very powerful.
So this is the clay board. So this didn't start with black and white, right? So this was all airbrushed in, all the background, and then you started scratching, and then you put color on top. So it's the same technique. It's just starts with all white. So this is an airbrush if nobody has seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Well, the compressor anyway.
The compressor. Dennis knows what I'm talking. So I have
Oh, it
to,
might
I have to
fall.
be
It
careful
might
about
fall.
what
Yeah.
So this is the airbrush, that's a compressor. So it has a needle and it, once you put ink in here and you have to turn it on. So only air comes out. If you push it, just the air comes out and you pull out, push and pull out whatever liquid is in here or the inks or the paint goes out. So that's how it goes.
Finally, I have seen.
In person,
Yeah, in action.
So this will let you all use it.
So it's called dual action. One is the pigment and one is the air.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can get the same one in Harbor Freight, which is a single action one. That probably cost you with the compressor and the airbrush, it cost you like $100.
Yeah, but
That's, yeah, I mean, this airbrush, I forgot it's like $280, something, the airbrush and the compressor
high
is
end, yeah.
not the high end is like thousands. So
Yeah.
this is kind of the medium. Yeah, I mean, for my purposes, this is good because I'm not trying to draw fine lines with it, which you can do with this. I generally just to have a coloring which is smooth in appearance. That's what I use my airbrush for. So let's focus on this one, right? So
And by the way, if you're gonna use airbrush, it's good to have something like this to put it into in between every single use, because the last thing you want is for that to fall on the floor. Because the little needle can break. Well, it can get a burr on it and then it's never the same again.
Oh,
right, so that's what happened with this needle, right? So this is this needle I used to now just poke a hole when it dries up. But once a needle like have a little bit of bend on it, you can't use it, right? Or so that's why, I mean, needles just cost $10, so it's not that big of a deal. But if you're when you need it and it's bent, then
Yeah.
yes,
So this, the stand, you will get it.
this one, yeah, this is also from Harbor Freight. I think this is like $5.
They make different ones. There's different ones.
You know what, I can send you all the supplies I use because for my workshop, I actually prepared a link for everything.
Yes, that would be helpful. Yeah.
And so just for clarity, right? This board costs like $15. And that's the most expensive piece that I have. I mean, of this entire art. This bottle, like it comes of 6 bottles, it costs $16 and it lasts for the whole year. So paint is very cheap. Paint is the ink, right? This is just ink. So once it dries, it doesn't dilute. So it is what is it called? Water fast? Water.
Like fast, is that what you're talking about?
No, once it dries.
Oh, waterproof.
Water.
Or water resistant?
Water fast, I think. Once it dries up, then when you put more water on it, it cannot dilute it. It's not like watercolor.
Yeah.
Right, so that is, I mean, once it hardens, that's it. Right? You can scratch it, but it doesn't mix with any other colors.
How light fast are the inks?
It's supposed to be very, because this is the same company that makes the scratch board.
Okay,
So
understand. Yeah,
Ampersand
yeah, they
makes
make good
board,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
They make good stuff. Right, so you have to, once you're done, you have to obviously spray it with fixative,
yeah. To
UV protective, whatever thing they
Mhm.
spray. So I typically don't because I never finish anything. So I have like hundreds of them at home. And I don't even frame them anymore because in 2016, the year I made like 365 of them, 366 because it was a leap year. And I decided to do
Every day?
one every day. Yes, and I
Wow.
did. 2 hours minimum. This one, I don't remember.
And they were all that size?
They were all this size.
Wow.
I
Because-
remember him posting it every single day. And it was so
On
amazing.
Instagram or Facebook?
On Facebook. At that time, I don't think Instagram was that popular,
Yeah.
or maybe I didn't know how to use it.
Mm.
But anyway, right? And it was fun till the time I was totally drunk and I didn't know what I was doing. But then you leave it. Okay. What are the other? Like you can paint with a regular brush also, right? So if you want to put some color. So let me just remove. So I want to put some pink in yours, right? So I can remove the black here.
What do you mean remove?
I just scratch off the black.
Oh, that's also a scratcher?
This is called a fiberglass brush.
Okay.
So this is the tool that is used for removing rust in automotive industry.
Oh,
Isn't it the same that you could put a leg in here and do paint?
Now this is, yes, I mean.
Same
this is
kind
the-
of, yeah.
This is the leg older,
Right.
but inside it is called a fiberglass brush. I mean, it has fibers which can.
Oh. okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my skin is very thick, so some people are very sensitive, so. if it goes in-
No, you're right.
Right, so
Yeah, I was
this,
carelessly touching. it,
right,
yeah.
right. So this just once you scratch it, the fiberglasses break off, but it also is easier to remove. And it gives a fussy appearance. So like, for example, if I have to do something here.
Oh, that gives a texture of.
Right.
Hair.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
is the
texture-
black and white also something using this one, like the lighter shade over here?
This one,
Yeah,
this is all, it started off with black.
okay,
And
and
this one also. I mean, this one started with all white.
they started with,
No, we're on.
This one.
okay.
The texture created by.
So I'm
something
referring
else.
like something which is a
Oh,
little
yeah,
darker.
this one I put an airbrush because I made it too light. So I just
Okay.
airbrush a little bit on ink over it.
Oh,
That's why it shows it's shining.
Yeah.
But once you put the fixative, it goes away.
Okay.
So that's why it looks like jarring that, oh, why is it so
Okay.
shiny, only that portion of
Okay.
it?
No,
But I-
it's a little darker also, it's not white. So
Yes, I wanted it to be like.
Yeah, yeah, in the backdrop.
Yes, that's why I said make it got it. All right, so this is when I use the airbrush, it looks the fussy, I don't know if it can capture with the camera, but when you use a knife, you, on top of it, it shows you the texture better. like this. So now it shows you the individual fur on top.
So those are your two scratch tools.
These are the main two scratch tools. I mean, all of these, I didn't bring too many of them, but this is a bigger fiberglass brush.
Okay.
Same thing, but it's long, it's thicker. So if I have to remove more of it, but this is the tool that I used to use, the whisker. So if I have to draw one more whisker out here. So this takes off a lot more ink, so I do it here.
Oh,
So this,
It's much.
if I do the same thing with the knife, it won't be as thick,
Mm.
right? So if I want thicker ones, which mostly I just use for the whiskers or the hair inside the ears, because
Ears,
those are the
yeah.
bigger ones, right? That's when I use this tool. I have a lot more tools at home, like she was reading out.
Tattoo needles.
Tattoo needles. Tattoo needles is fun because it comes with like prongs, like it comes like, there are like, just like this needle, which is one, right? But the tattoo needles come with 4 of them. So you can do one scratch and you can do that pattern,
Like
like
a
especially if you're,
Brush effect? or-
yeah, I mean, if you are doing the, what is that?
Process.
Hatching.
Processing, it makes much more sense to use it because it has parallel lines and almost there for it. So yeah, when you want to take some shortcuts, you can use tattoo needles. Sandpaper has its own effect.
So the tattoo needles works fine on scratch board, like.
Yes, anything that you can try to, I think you can even use your
Normal nail.
nails
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it will scratch, right?
Mhm.
But you can't control it. So whatever medium you can control with, you can use it.
Hello.
All right, so if I removed the black from here, so if I want to add some more pink in here, so I already put a drop of color in here and already diluted with water, so it's like 1 drop of ink with maybe a couple of drops of water.
Yeah.
So I can just use a regular paintbrush and then mix the color. Okay, let me see. This pink is good enough. And I don't go too much, I don't care too much about the color. I can always correct it later.
So this inks are waterproof.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
acrylic,
really
sorry,
different, yeah.
acrylic, but you can mix it with water.
It looks very liquidy, so that's where.
It's ink.
Yeah.
It's basically ink, but it's not acrylic where it dries out immediately.
Right.
So these are inks, just all inks, but acrylic based.
Okay.
It's kind of acrylic based inks if you have this.
They're more opaque than like writing calligraphy ink.
Okay.
Mhm.
Right, and once it dries up, right, you can keep on adding more and more color to it.
So what is it doing right now? It's you open up the board and then you're coloring that.
I'm
underlying.
coloring the white clay
Mhm.
with the inks.
Okay.
But once it dries out, it becomes regular colors.
Mhm.
Right? So Then if I want, I can add more texture on top of it.
And it's not sinking into the clay, it's staying. in a
It's
layer.
kind of like maybe surface of the clay, right? It doesn't go all the way down
Right.
because if it does, then you can't scratch it.
Yeah, exactly.
But there is a warning which, so if you try with different inks, some of them are really, really seeps into the Winston and Newton.
Winsor and Newton.
Winston
Yeah,
Newton.
Yeah.
That's very stable. So
Uh-huh.
once you use that, and then I didn't realize that it was that, and then when I tried to scratch it, it's pointless because you scratch, you should see the same color.
Yeah.
But it just gives you the texture, but the same color, which is
Yeah.
kind of useless. So I don't use that anymore. But these, I mean, these are the two main colors I use. Ampersand inks, which is like comes in a pack of seven colors,
Mhm.
and you can basically mix any color with those 7. But I sometimes use Kohinoor inks also. These are
Oh, going on back in India, I know that.
Yeah.
So I didn't know scratch board when I was in India.
Uh-huh.
I don't know whether it's popular there. I'm talking about like 16 years ago. I was just doing graphite and color pencils and all those things.
Yeah.
I did something and I posted it website as graphite one, and people saw it and they asked me if it is scratch board. And that's when I realized there is something called a scratch board, and I Googled it and I started with the paper because most people's scratch board is a paper, which is what kids use.
Huh.
So that's come like, it's like $50. You get a sheet of this and you scratch it with like a bamboo needle. So it's just paper and black paper on top of white paper. But you can't color it. So that's what I started off with. Then I realized that's not the real one. Then I Googled it. Then I said, oh, there is more expensive one, and this is where I am. All right. So scratching, right? So if I'm gonna scratch, can I switch it to this side? Sure.
Yeah, or you're focused in, so you can do the way you want it.
Okay, so if I want to add more fur in here, right? It's kind of fussy here, but I want to add more fur. And if you notice, I'm not scratching straight lines because the hair or the fur is never straight. And you try to give it like a flowing feeling, and you do like curved movements, right? So it so that it looks more natural. Right?
You got the hang of it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once I did that, I mean, anything you do for a long time, you get good at it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not like I have any talent or anything, it's just practice. So I don't think too much. I need something from my work, distracting from my work. So this is what I do. Right, so once you scratch it, all the white comes in. Then if you want, you can put more color in. So if I want to just color it again with a little bit of yellow, right? So I can just.
Just very little color.
Right. Yeah, you don't need too much color because you just need to stain that white clay, right? Right. And you can keep on going. You can now, if you want, if you think that, oh, this needs a little bit more red, somewhere here. So this one I diluted too much, so maybe I should get a drop. So you never apply the ink without diluting because that becomes very hard on the surface and you can't scratch anymore.
That's just water.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like,
Yeah,
the actual ink is not so.
yeah, this is just what. Yeah. I put a little bit of water so that it's not that one. So this is more darker, right? So now I want to first make this darker, which I started earlier, so it looks more pinkish. And I want to start. So this becomes too pinkish, right? So that doesn't look good. So what you can do is just put more ink on top of it, or orange, right? So even if it is dry, it's not opaque completely because it's just darker. It's not that dark of a color, right? So you can correct it, by putting more color on it. Right, so this is how you do it without using an airbrush, right? Just with regular inks, and regular paintbrush. So I don't know if it's going to get noisy if I turn on the
I have one question, like how do you start off with the sketching part of it, like, because it's all black, right? So how do you
Right,
get
so
the proportions?
You can't. I know everybody was doing freehanding on it, but scratchboard you can't free.
Right,
But if you do freehand, you might end up
exactly. There's no,
messing up a lot of boards. You could, however, freehand on a paper and draw whatever you want in the paper and then transfer using a transfer.
Okay.
Right?
So you use white transfer paper.
Yes, if you're using a scratch board, you use white, but if you use a clay board, you do the other way.
Yes.
So-
The normal, but not the oily carbon paper like we get in India. This
you-
would be the dry kind.
Right, right.
Transfer
Yeah,
paper.
Graphite paper.
Graphite.
Transfer paper. Saril, I think it's called saril.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, so this is when you don't use airbrush. So if you use airbrush, right, again, I was saying earlier, you have to turn it on. And this is a less noisy compressor. You put, the compressors can get really noisy.
I felt be quieter.
Yeah, so that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, so. Like I said earlier, right, when I press it, air comes out of it. If I put something in here and pull it, whatever is in here goes out along with it. Right, so let me start with just putting some water. So maybe I can just make it reddish. I did the demo last time, I didn't really have to.
Something new.
I'm surprised you're mixing it in the little cup rather than off.
Yeah, I don't have the patience
the
to mix.
eyedropper. Put it
The
in.
real artist, they would mix it outside and get the exact color they want, and then like.
Yeah, yeah.
It takes too much time for me, so it's like what Bob Ross said, like happy accidents.
Wait for that to happen.
Right, sometimes oh, this color is not what I wanted, but it looks good. Let me try it. Nobody would ever, nobody in the same mind would try this color. So like that, right? So if I want to just put more in reddish, right? I don't know if it is.
Yeah,
and you
we can see it. Yeah.
So it's now showing it.
So excited to say this.
And it takes you a lot of easy.
And there's a place for it to.
What's that one of using airbrush versus your brush you use earlier?
Yeah, this is like it would be more like oil paints versus acrylics, right? Oil paint gives you that very smooth. Let me stop it for a while.
Yeah, well,
Like it's you can blend it very smooth, right? Acrylics also, if you have the right technique, you could probably do it. But imagine that you are using acrylics with like a very dry brush, and then you have all the edges not smoothed out, right? That would be how it happens if you use regular brush. But you could use watercolor techniques in this, that you wet the board and then use very diluted water, very diluted inks, and use only on the wet one, so it won't dry out the edge of it. Then you like apply different layers of diluted inks, then it will give you the same appearance, but not as smooth as an airbrush. And never a background. I'll have some in there which has like more greenish and yellowish background, right, where it fades in and fades out. So all those things, airbrush is the what you
does the board soak up the water?
It does take up the
It is clay.
That's
so-
dry.
yeah, it dries up. I mean, right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can use it to dry it up faster, right, if you want, or just use a.
Like a hair dryer.
Hair dryer is what many of the artists do, because it quickly does it. What I do is that I mean, you're not supposed to really scratch it immediately, because the clay is now soft.
Yeah.
Right, and wet. So when you scratch, you might not get the finished touch, but I know exactly how much pressure to put. If you put a lot of pressure, it might just dig out the clay, right? So okay, so let's make this part a little bit yellowish.
Oh my God. You're looking at it and thinking, oh my God, he's doing it right off the fly.
Dennis is thinking like, I 3 hours to do one small section of mine.
See, depends on your subject matter.
Yeah,
The overspray can
yeah.
get
Yeah.
you too.
Yeah.
Especially if you're expecting to have a hard edge, you're gonna have to mask it off to keep that edge hard.
And initially I used to do that. I used to make sure that it doesn't bleed in. But I learned from my happy accidents, a little bit of like
Yeah,
overspray is also good because nature, everything reflects it.
yeah. Well, when
Even if
you're,
it's white, the white is reflecting some other color, right? If it is white and she is standing with the blue one, it has some blue in it.
yeah,
So
it depends on your subject matter and the light.
I'm not very particular about how it ends up. I just go with the flow, and if it is decent enough, I might just keep it apart and do something else, right? So by this time, hopefully, when you use an airbrush, you have to always clean it, because if you don't clean it and you forget to clean it, you have to take out the needle. You have to I don't know if it is there in the calendar, but you have to take out the needle and you have to clean this the one and keep it back. Otherwise,
Yeah, clean out the inside with the reamer. Yeah.
Yeah.
right, so this is the airbrush cleaner.
Everyone here did the voting.
Huh?
Everyone here did the.
Oh, no.
I can wait for a minute.
Okay.
Sorry for the distraction, so. Yeah, you. No, that's fine.
So now, most of this, you have a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what
Okay.
if you made a big boo?
Mistake, huh?
You scratch again? No, this one, if you have airbrush, you can correct it.
So you could do a black.
Yeah.
And like,
mean-
suppose it was like,
If you do a
yeah,
black
you
and
did too
white,
much of something.
if it was black and white, then you do like a straight scratch on it, very difficult to cover.
Right, but
Right.
say you overdid something in
Yeah,
scratching
If,
here.
yeah, right, doesn't matter. I can always correct it. I can put more ink on top of it and cover it up somehow. Right, so like here, right, if looks too
Too red.
for me, right? So
Yeah.
I can come back and color it, I mean, remove the ink again,
Hmm.
right? So that it has some residue of the red, but once I put one more like a brown color on top of it,
Hmm.
the red is gone. So I can always correct it after.
And what if you accidentally scratched wrong?
The wrong area, like this.
Hmm.
Like there is a small
Yeah,
white
that's small
ant
one.
here.
Yeah.
And that I can come back, use that brush, put black ink. Spray on top.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, you can correct, but if you have like drawn a very straight line, like with the knife accidentally, I've done it many times, then it's very difficult to cover up. Then you have to think about what can look naturally. Will a butterfly look there better? Or
Yeah.
like
Then you can see it. That's because it's actually gouged into the surface, right?
Right, because even if you put the airbrush, dots,
You'll
you would
see the
see,
groove,
right?
yeah.
If you have the straight lines, it's very obvious to you that there's
It
something.
doesn't match the matness of the thing, so
Right, right.
there's always a discontinuity of it. Yeah.
So after you put colors, when you're scratching with, say, much lesser power, or does the color still shows up a little bit?
It depends upon how much you scratch, right? So here, if I scratch, I can have very small scratches, right? So I don't know if it is visible in to you, but
Yeah.
this is making it lighter,
Right, yeah.
right? But yeah, it depends on there is a scratchboard artist, she passed away, and there was Diana Lee, California. She was like the founder of all these things. She used to say that scratching is like feathering, right? So you shouldn't scratch with enough force that more than like a feather applies,
Percentage
right?
of
So
the-
so it should be very soft enough, and that way, if you go in layers and you can keep on going on, and if you don't go too dark, too light, too fast.
Oh.
So it all depends upon how much pressure, right? If here itself, right, I can put very small pressure, right? And this is very like very small. But at the same time, I can go darker, more dark,
Yeah.
right? So this is all kind of different pressures with the knife.
Mm.
And the thicker knives you use, like the one I showed you earlier, right? Or if you can use an X-Acto knife, that even goes even bigger than this. So yeah, you could control the width and the thickness of your scratch, but the more thicker you scratch, that means you're going deeper.
Mm.
Right, so you won't be able to correct it that easier.
How deep is the thickness of the
Show that.
board?
So I don't know how
Just
much you
little
can
bit,
see.
right? Yeah, just a
Luckily for me, I probably have done 1,000 of them. I've never reached the.
The board, okay. So your touch is like feather, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So I also noticed that depending on depending on which direction you're stroking, you hold the tip of the knife in a different direction
Right,
too.
yes,
So
yes,
that's key to the technique
Right,
too.
so I think it just comes naturally. I didn't even think that I had to explain. That's true. That's a good catch. So usually when you write with a pen, right, this is how you hold it. But you can't scratch like this. You have to hold it sideways. And
Or you have to
depending
hold
on which side you're scratching, you have to keep changing.
Right.
Right, because this is the one, this ankle is what gives you the optimal, like here, if I do it, I'll do it like this, if I want to go it this way. But if I have to come it this way, if I have to scratch this way, then I have to hold it like this. So depending on where you are scratching, you have to change it. There are other mediums, right? If you want to just use something like this. Right? This is dirty, but you could theoretically scratch with this. And here, the direction doesn't matter because it's the same. I mean, I don't know if it's even sharp anymore because I've had drying. Right, you can still scratch with it. And this one, direction doesn't matter. But the knife, yes,
a round tip.
right, it's a round tip. Yes. She knows all the right words.
So another question,
Yes.
um,
Oh,
well,
am I out of time?
No. 8:30 still, we got time.
so all the scratches you make are intentional, there are no like
There are a lot of them.
accidents, okay.
There's like, I don't count the hair or something, right? I know this is how direction is, so I just keep going, right?
Right, and
And
if
that-
it looks good, then it's
looks
good,
and sometimes I go further than what I see in the reference picture.
right?
Whatever makes it look better to me, then I'll keep going, right? It doesn't have to be exactly looking like whatever I want.
And how often do you have to change the blades?
Um,
You
almost
know
never.
already, almost never?
I know the real scratching artists, they probably change it every half an hour. But for me, I can still make it work, so
You can probably make it the
Yeah.
next level, the color.
It's you can just take it out like this and put the next one. So it's just this one, right? So, but this is sharp enough unless it falls down like this and the tip is it's useless. But other than that, this is good enough for me. I can keep using it.
So this is X-Acto knife?
This is not X-Acto knife. It's kind of similar. It's called an art knife. So this whole thing costs like $6 with like a bunch of like maybe
Extra
10,
blades.
15 of the blades in Amazon. So this is my favorite one. I used to use X-Acto knife. Then I moved on to something called a surgical scalpel,
Mm,
which is what doctors used to cut you,
right.
or people. It's very cheap. It's very cheap. I got one box of 50 needles 8 years ago, and I never finished.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and very, very, very economical. All these things are very economical. It's only the board, and even that I buy the big one, which is like 2 feet by 3 feet,
Mm.
and I cut it into pieces. That's why you see.
Oh,
this
yourself, you cut them.
table saw.
Mm.
So I cut it in my table saw. So then it costs like at least half the price of what it is.
Wow.
But I mean, the edges are not smooth, but once you frame it, if you want to frame it, then it doesn't matter. So for some of these are the edges, real edges where it is smooth, but here, this is where I cut it using a table saw.
Mm, yeah, now that you say it, we can see it.
So I can see how this works really well for doing furry subjects, but
Right.
what if you're doing something like a portrait of a person? So there's smooth skin,
So
or
then-
would you just not even use scratch boards if you're gonna?
You use it, but then you use a lot of cross hatching.
Uh,
Because you need the skin to be smooth. I don't know whether I have any of the
Or is
people
there-
in here.
Or is there a different tool for that, maybe?
No, it's just the same blade, but you have to be very careful. You can't make mistakes. So let me see if I have any people, no people. Okay, let me see. I can show some of the in here, which are my.
The background is with the
Airbrush?
Airbrush.
And this one, I tried a lot of different things. I don't know if you can see it, but I even scratched the background. And it took me hours and hours to do it. I don't usually spend so much time on it. But I was not happy with it, so I kept on doing it. Still, I'm not
Let's
happy with
add
it.
quite a bit of texture.
Oh, this one is, yeah, this is, so this background. What I did is that I put a color. I didn't like it, so I used this fiberglass brush to remove all the color. So the brush gave the texture, and then I put the next color in. It looked like it has texture. Oh, I liked it. So another happy accident, right? So I didn't actually intend it so it to be
Very
like
nice,
this, but
yeah.
it just ended up like this.
I like the
Beautiful.
bark
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, the
Especially.
wood, yeah.
But I tried a lot of weird things. I don't know. I was not getting it. So I put some color. I didn't like it. Put some more color. There's a blue, red, all kind of different colors. And somehow after a while, my wife said, it looks okay.
Yeah.
Is it okay?
He's knowing when to stop, right?
Find one.
So
with
you
the-
can do the background first and then start.
You can. You can. I've done a lot of them where trying to find if there is a. Okay, this is what I use my imagination.
Airbrush, you know.
Right, all this background, everything in my imagination. This is a duck that I got in Happy Hollows. And it is not this.
The color is different though, right?
reference picture. Oh, I do. Yeah, so
Oh,
this is
okay.
my reference picture. So this is where I went a little bit.
Mm,
And I put a little bit more color than what it is there. I wanted to look more
Very
dramatic.
nice, yeah.
But usually I just copy whatever is in the reference picture, right? That's. Yeah. Maybe I don't have a reference picture for this. But I don't have a person's portrait, unfortunately, but I have done a.
On the
bunch of-
website you do?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I have a lot of people. on the
When
website.
he was doing that 365-day thing,
Uh-huh.
he did portraits.
Yes, and portraits take forever.
Mm,
um,
to
He
get
did
Portraits is
portraits
much
in that.
easier to do just graphite or charcoal. Charcoal is the easiest. Yes. Right, so these are all different ones. And none of these are finished, right? All of these I'm still working
like the
on.
chickens.
Oh, this is one of my graphite ones, right? This is Harry Potter from
Mm.
15 years ago. Right, okay, so any other questions, anything else?
No, amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, that was a very short demo. Thank you.
Question.
Sure.
About the material.
Right.
So material, where should, we should buy the
So I'm
material?
going to
and
send an email to Janki
Mm.
with all the materials like, from Amazon, right? So that it's easy.
Oh, nice.
So I include that because it doesn't cost much.
You can also get them though at Lens Art Santa Cruz. They carry the whole ampersand line of boards over there. Gesso board, clay board, scratch board, pastel board, everything over there.
But I've often seen that diglick.com
Yeah.
is cheapest or Jerry's Artanama, one of
Yeah.
these. Right, compared to Michelle's or Michael's or whatever, Michael's. Michelle is my daughter, sorry. All right, any other questions?
I think
Thank you. All right,
Fantastic.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, FALC has a new, like, we call the demo artist, and the demo artist we give offer to join us for for a year.
Okay.
So year's membership is free to the demo artist.
Okay,
So please join us. We have Fall Fest show coming up.
all right, I mean, I was a member, but I was too lazy to renew it, I guess. All right,
Okay.
sure.
And my our treasurer is going to contact you for your paper.
Yeah, I saw that you had a lot of budget. In the line.
He did pay attention. Yeah, the idea is to rope in, good artists like you to the
Oh, no.
forum and then,
Make our life challenging.
hopefully you'll stick around for the next year. So that's the,
I mean, I've seen Hati in the East Valley Art Association, right? And I know that he's now a member here.
yeah,
He's really talented.
yeah, right.
Dennis is really talented. So
Yeah.
all of you have so many people. here. Okay,
Fantastic. Okay. So you guys need to.
Muted, okay.